Alright class, so forgive the low quality of the video, best I can do with what I have here. Nonetheless, here it is. So I have the mold, the latex inside the mold, here it is. And I just took off here it is, there's the mother mold. I just took off the extra clay. That's my son having a good time, living the family life. It's awesome being home during COVID-19 for that reason, but it's hard to teach for you guys to see this. But I'm flipping it over. Here's the plaster mother mold. Here's the part that I was using to keep it all in place. So I'm getting rid of the extra clay I had. And you can see now what's happening is inside I have, this is my original clay tile. And the latex is down there. It looks like I might have had a little bit of a problem actually going on here, but not too bad. That some of my latex, this is the latex, you can't really see it very well, but it's right there. That's it. And then the plaster's there. It looks like some of the plaster kind of went over the top of my latex. See the latex? It's hard to see, but because they're the same color, that's the latex. So I'm gonna have to kind of clean it off and cut it off. But also, what I need to do is get the clay tile out. Now it looks like I had a bit of a problem because my clay tile had some warping on it. So I'm gonna have to be kind of careful because I got a little bit of a problem here. Everyone needs to be careful with this, but I'm saying I have to be careful because mine buckled a little bit. I don't know why it happened. Maybe it was so thin and it started to dry. I made the idea of putting it on cardboard was a good idea, but afterwards I realized it's drawing some of the moisture out of the tile a little quicker than I wanted it to. So that might be part of the problem. So I'm gonna have to kind of carefully try to get it out of there. Mine's a little funny, so I'll have to chip it out a little at a time. It's important to notice that you're gonna lose the tile, the clay tile. You're not gonna be able to keep it. I especially want you to be careful at this point because if you ruin this mold, then you don't have anything because you have to. Some of you will be able to get the tile out without ruining it. You'll be able to just flip it, but a lot of you will have to do it like me. And so there's a stage in between when the image, the tile doesn't exist anymore except for in the mold. The mold is the only thing that you have of it because you haven't cast anything yet. So the mold is the vacancy. There's like a vacancy of the image, the tile. It's gone, but you have the apparatus to make more of them, right? So if you're not careful with the mold during that period of time, if you mess it up, then you'll end up with nothing because the mold is what you need to be able to cast another version of the tile. I hope I'm making sense, but it's sort of like the lost part of it. Like in lost wax casting, they call it lost because there's a point when the wax is gone and all you have left is the cavity that you were making, and so that's the same thing that's happening here. All I have gonna have left is the thing that I'm gonna use to make the casting out of. So I'm gonna pause the video and try to get this cleaned out a little bit more because I don't have enough storage space on my phone for you to watch the entire process bit by bit. But I just want to show you how I'm doing it here real quick. I'm gonna just carefully chip around all the edges a little bit. I'm not going to try to chip the middle out. I'm going to chip the edges until I think they're mostly free. And then it'll start to let me be able to pull up on it all. And a bigger section in the middle will probably come out all at once. But I have to get the edges free first. So you want to be careful. My mother mold's been sitting here for quite a while, but it's still feeling a tiny bit wet, maybe from the environment too. So I want to be careful. I don't want to pound on it. Last time I did a video, I showed you guys the mother mold. I accidentally pulled it out a little too soon, so it broke. So I had to redo one. I was trying to speed the process up a little bit so I could get you guys to see it, but I was being a little too eager, and I broke my mother mold, so I had to redo another mother mold to give you guys the idea of it. So that's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to keep doing that and chipping away at it, and then I'll show you in another video what it's going to be like once how I level it out and cast some plaster into the mold. Okay, so this is the stage after the mother mold. You do the plaster, mother mold, and you have it over, it's over the latex. Here's my latex right here, flange, you can see right there all the way around. You don't want to pull on the flange because that would really mess it up. But here's the latex flange, there's the plaster mother mold. Now I'm going to get rid of the tile. So this is that stage that I talked to you guys in the announcement. After this tile removal, then I can level it out and start to cast the plaster into it. So I'll show you about leveling it out in a minute. Looks like I got a little bit of my flange stuck in the plaster, had a little leakage underneath. So I can just cut that away, that won't be a problem. It's actually barely under there, just a tiny bit. So I'm pulling it out mostly. So, you know, this is going to show you how it's going to come out. I don't want to yank on this though, because I'll rip the latex. So I have to get the mold to kind of like fall out on its own a little bit more before I can drop it out, because I don't want to pull, I don't want to rip all this work I've been doing building up the latex. I don't want to rip it away. So I can do a little at a time. If I can get all the edges free, probably will be fine, but could have another issue. Doubt it. I carefully did it. So it's probably just sticking in there because the moisture of the clay with the latex kind of bonding together like two pieces of glass with moisture between them. It's like the wicking action of the water pulls it together. Capillary action of the water, I think that's called. Getting into science. I'm not a science professor. Anyway, you guys can see how I'm doing it carefully, a little at a time. I'm trying to take that out. And I'm just kind of trying to pay attention to wherever I feel like it might be stuck. I'm looking down at it. I'm noticing like right here, it's stuck a little bit maybe. So I'm just going to kind of take that part out carefully. There we go. It looks like it might be a little stuck right here, so I'm just going to give it a little chip off there. So, let's see if it's starting. Every now and then I'm going to flip it over and just see if it's still not happening. So then you just have to keep going. Be patient, you know, not get too crazy about it. Get worried about it or anything. Just kind of stay patient with it and see what's happening. Try it a little at a time. Looks like it's starting to get a little free. Sometimes you can blow a little air in there if it's starting to. With the air compressor, if you're in class, I would use the air compressor a little bit and see if I could sometimes blow a little bit of pressured air inside part of it, see if it'll start to release some of it. I'm using a somewhat sharp little ceramic knife, but I'm being very, very careful when I get pushing down just a little, and as soon as I get kind of close to the rubber, I'm pulling back a lot. I'm not cutting into it at all. I recommend being, you know, you can use something sharp, but you really don't want to push down too hard, because if you cut into your rubber, it won't be irreparable, but it's just not a good idea. You don't want to have to spend the time figuring out if you got a hole in it or fixing it or doing all the extra stuff. You just want it to work as easily as possible. So just be careful on that. Not get too over eager with it. Also on this, I want to show you the back of the mold, I have a little bit of raised parts. Whenever I go to cast it, I'm going to want to kind of level it out a little as much as I can. My plaster was kind of getting a little thick on me for some reason, so the way I poured it, so I'm going to, you know, I might spend a tiny bit of time leveling it out. But I'm not going to worry too much about it, because that's when I cast it, I'll actually level the whole thing out and get it nice and level before I cast it so that it doesn't spill the plaster everywhere. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of that.